There's a new survey this morning that aims to get at why the unemployment rate is so high. And the big reason? A gap in skills training and education. Joining us now with some insights, former Secretary of Education Margaret and Wrubel, the Executive Vice President of the Apollo Group, the parent company of the University of Phoenix, which is one of the sponsors of Education Nation. Secretary Spellings, good morning. Rob, thank you for coming in. Secretary, you're an advisor to the Chamber that compiled this report. Your research found that over half of employers who were hiring struggled to do it because they just can't find the people with the proper skills.
Isn't that amazing?
Unbelievable.
14 million people out of work and 3.2 million jobs without the folks that have the skills necessary to fill them. It's shocking. So that's what this report is about. How are we going to get those skilled workers? How are we going to meet the needs of our job creators during this challenging economic time?
Well, Rob, one of the things this report found was while past work experience is key to getting hired, in a sense, it's your management and communication skills that get you promoted. So what do we do about those two elements?
Well, this is what's sort of amazing, is that getting in the door is all about what you did in the past. Once you're in, to be promoted, to succeed, both employers and employees tell you it's about critical thinking skills, problem solving, your leadership and people management skills. And everyone thinks you need a college degree.
But yeah, the bottom line is you've got to get that diploma. How do we get those numbers up, Secretary Spelling?
Well, the U.S. Chamber believes that we need to listen to our customer. We need to listen to our customer, the business community that's hiring these folks, as well as those students that we're trying to serve. And we've done a really poor job of doing that. Kids take on too much debt, or students take on too much debt. Often they don't know the most direct way to their destination. And so those are the things that we at the Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of the business community, are really working on, finding those employees, filling that skills gap to drive the economy forward.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a plug, frankly, for the University of Phoenix, but it is one of the online educators, and so many of these 14 million who are unemployed, and in some cases more of them even, Rob, underemployed, don't have a college degree, and they're saying, I'm 40 years old, I'm 45 years old, I got a husband or wife, I've got kids. What am I going to do about that now?
Well, I think the big factor is just what you said. Many of these are underemployed, they have responsibilities, and so flexibility and convenience around getting that degree is one of the most critical factors in choosing the kind of program they can go into. The cost of the tuition, the kinds of skills and the specific aspects of the program are critical, but the flexibility and convenience of being able to do it while also looking for a job and feeding and managing a family and a household is key.
When you talk about spending money, you're already talking about a fight in Washington, Secretary Spellings, but I'm wondering if, given this reality, the government needs to look a lot more closely at how to help people who are in that bind retrain.
Absolutely, we do, Chris, but we're wasting a lot of time and money in a very efficient model that we're doing now. As Rob pointed out, the convenience of education is so important to people, our non-traditional students, the vast majority of students who are working, trying to support their families and so forth. And the private sector, the business community, has been a huge innovator in changing the way we deliver higher education. And so it's not just about how much we spend, it's how we deploy time and people so that we can make the most of it. And that's what we've done a less good job of than providing just more money into the system. We've done that year on year. We've got to be smarter about how we use it.
Yeah, and how quickly can we do it, I guess, is the question. Because again, Rob, if I'm 35, 45, 55 years old, I've lost my job, say in manufacturing, I know it's not going to come back, and I'm looking at the prospect of years of education, I'm saying to myself, what am I doing for my family in the meantime? And it's a desperate situation for a lot of people.
It really is, and I think the good news is there's such a spirit of innovation and forward progress in terms of using technology, whether it's online learning, blended learning, where you're doing both in campus and on the web. And I think what's happening now is you're starting to see a real acceleration in the adoption of these technologies to serve this huge marketplace. But as Margaret said, we have to really accelerate those investments and take a very different view of how we're going to educate these non-traditional learners.
And let me just ask one more question here, because you were one of the folks, Secretary Spellings, involved with No Child Left Behind. And as you know, this has become a huge fight now. Give us your take on what we're seeing now in Washington with this.
Well, one of the things I'm worried about, and I think the business community in particular is worried about, is if we need so many skilled workers, we have got to pick up the pace on educating our students to much, much higher levels. And what I'm worried about is a retreat from accountability and holding ourselves really responsible for getting that achievement level up, particularly with our poor and minority kids. So when I hear things like waivers and bills by the Senate Republicans to exempt states or let states opt out of these requirements, I'm really worried about it, because we ought to be talking about how are we going to meet these needs, not how are we going to make the adults in the system more comfortable by lessening the pressure for them to improve.
Yeah, because I guess finally the question is that even if you do have that degree, as your survey pointed out, Rob, once you get in there, you've still got to show that you've got the skills that your degree hopefully gave to you. But if you don't have those skills, it's not going to help you move on.
Well, in today's very competitive global economy, what also showed up in the study is continuous learning. Something we've talked about, lifelong learning, is really going to be the rule of the day. The idea that you go to school in 4 years and you do your learning and the rest of the time you do your working, you're going to be working and learning for the rest of your career. That's really what points out about these studies from the labor pool as well as the employers.
All right, Rob Wrubel, Secretary of Spelling, it's good of both of you to come in. It's great to see you.
You too.
Thank you.
Well, talk about a dangerous job.